is Small Business Tidbits, where we try to bring up issues that we believe entrepreneurs should think about and act upon in order to enhance their chances of business success. In our last video, we brought out the importance of preparation before you even start your business and in the course of running the business. And specifically, we brought out that there are two distinct issues that you need to prepare on. One of them being the mindset that covered emotional and social factors. And today we'll be discussing the second component, which is the technical aspect of your required preparation. So what is technical preparation? Technical preparation is about intellectual and physical preparation of the entrepreneur. Also, before you even open shop and while you are running your business. Technical preparation has three objectives. The first is to establish the value proposition of the idea or opportunity. The second is to establish the mechanics that is required to run the business. And the third is arranging to have things done. So how do you get to achieve these three objectives? Again, three related activities. The first is establishing or conducting a feasibility study to check on the viability or otherwise of the idea and opportunity. The second is to draw a business plan which presupposes the idea is established to be viable. And third is to develop a culture of execution. So we start by introducing the feasibility study. Before you even open shop, like I said, you have to establish the viability of the idea. So a feasibility study is simply about checking the viability of the opportunity along several dimensions, as we know, the traditional market function, finance and economic model, technology, and all that. It is important that for each of these dimensions, we are able to establish the viability of the venture. If, for instance, you take the market dimension, are you able to establish that there is an existing demand or a potential demand is coming up that will generate the kind of profitability that will justify your investment in the idea? Take, for instance, technology. Are you sure that the technology exists that will support the business? If, for instance, you take Amazon and Jumia, they are working on a particular model of business and using certain technologies. Those technologies did not exist some 40 years ago. So any entrepreneur that have thought about the model couldn't have been able to pull it through because it wouldn't have been technologically viable. So really, the whole idea about a feasibility study is to be able to establish the workability and profitability of the opportunity. But it is a core and primary function that must come before any other thing. Then the second activity is the business plan. The business plan is your working document that you draw up to show what you want to achieve and how you want to achieve it. At the end of the business planning process, you come up with a compendium of tactics and strategy that you develop in order to turn that idea into profit. Now, a lot of people confuse feasibility study and business plan. They are two related but different functions that achieve different goals. The feasibility is to show the workability and the profitability of the idea or not. You must establish that it is viable before you move to the next one, which is the business planning. In business planning, you have already established that it can be done. You show your proofs, taking some results from the feasibility study and other assumptions that you need to make to establish that yes, it can be done and how it can be done. So your business planning is just to establish and develop your tactics and strategy for you to be able to achieve what the feasibility has shown can be achieved. You also, like the feasibility study, need to work on all the various functions: marketing, production, finance, staffing, and so on and so forth. And between the feasibility study and the planning, I always advise that you as the entrepreneur should be fully involved in getting them either studied or developed. Reason being, if you just hand it over to consultants and professionals, you will not have a visceral feel of the whole process and the knowledge that it brings. At the end of the day, you don't want to take the results and it is what somebody has written entirely without any input or understanding from your side, because you are the one that will ultimately work on the plan. So the third activity is the execution. Execution is not about your capacity, it's not about your potential, it is about you doing what needs to be done. It's about getting things done. Or as they say, it is about the rubber meeting the road. No success whatsoever is achievable or sustainable without taking action. If you add your idea to your feasibility study, which has established that the idea is viable, and your business plan reflecting all these tactics and strategy, if you don't act on them and take the necessary action, they all amount to nothing. So what is execution? It is about doing the mundane and routine things as well as the strategic ones as the need arises. It's about you returning that call from the hostile customer who was very angry with what you have failed to do. It is about you sending emails to your suppliers. It is about you driving 1,000 kilometers to go and meet with a prospective customer that has not been keen to patronize you. It is about you immediately putting up an advertisement to replace your very good staff that you lost in the road accident, as we discussed in the last video. It is about everything that you need to work on so that you get pushed towards your objective. Now, there's something very interesting about our execution that I like to mention, and I call it the time effect. Over time, we tend to improve on our capacity to deliver results, which is very good. Maybe our experience and knowledge builds. But then, on the other hand, we also tend to get complacent. So you have to watch out such that with time, between you and your staff, you don't lose the edge to get things done. Okay, finally, recall that at the beginning we presented and defined technical preparation as a physical and intellectual preparedness of the entrepreneur. But one might ask, what is intellectual and physical about what we have discussed? Building a business plan from the results of a viable feasibility study is an intellectual activity. Like I said, the entrepreneur should be fully involved because that will sharpen his understanding of the details of the business that he or they wish to commence. Similarly, beyond even establishing the viability and developing the plan, in the course of running your business, you have to continuously develop yourself intellectually. You may not be an economist, but you have to have a good understanding of the workings of an economy and development on economic issues. You may not be a banker, but you have to continuously have good understanding of banking and finance issues. You may not be an engineer, but you have to have sufficient and working understanding of engineering issues as they relate to your business. Then what we have also discussed is physical, because you have to move around to get things done. Your execution is about you moving around, and as moving around, addressing issues and creating opportunities and seizing them. It all involves you moving around. And like I always like to tell people, that once you're an entrepreneur, the issue of convenience and in doing what you want to do ceases. You cannot decide when opportunities come to you, but when they do come, you have to move. To the entrepreneur, there's absolutely no difference between the Friday evening and the Monday morning and the Sunday afternoon. Whenever things come that need to be addressed, they should be addressed. That's all for now. Thank you very much. I hope the video has been beneficial. I hope you have been able to pick a thing or two. And at the end of the video, our blog address link is there for you to check and see if there are other interesting posts. Our email address is also there in case you want to make contact, make suggestions, ask questions, and then go to our YouTube channel and subscribe so that updated videos can be sent to you. Thank you. Bye.